Battlefield 2042 is officially over. In this video, we're going to take a look at exactly what DICE and EA have said and the ramifications of it. They also mention some interesting details about the next Battlefield game too. However, there is a lot on the line here and a lot to discuss, so let's dive in. This is the statement they released. When BF 2042 launched, we promised to bring 4 seasons of content to the game, including new maps, additional specialists, weapons, vehicles, and more. As our seasons continued, the feedback we received made it clear your appetite for more BF 2042 remained strong. We took the opportunity to evolve the game to make it even better for you and continue to learn valuable lessons for our own development processes. Last month, we released the 7th season of BF 2042, Turning Point, which added an intense new urban map set in Chile, as well as several weapons and a new gadget, with a revamped map based on the stadium location from Hourglass, 2 themed events, and a new weapon and vehicle to come. While we've enjoyed and are proud of creating these seasons of additional content for BF 2042, it is now necessary for us to turn from the present to the future. What this ultimately means is that Season 7 will serve as the final season for BF 2042. After Season 7 concludes, we will continue to support the game with new in-game challenges, events, modes, and of course ongoing maintenance, but we are moving away from delivering official seasons. We know this news may be disappointing. However, as we looked at what the future of the series required, it became clear it was time for us to shift our resources and focus to be fully dedicated to what comes next. As I've mentioned in previous updates, we have an ambitious vision to embrace and unlock the vast potential of the series, class-based squad play, and immersive intense battles. To that end, Motive Studio, the talented developers known most recently for their work on the critically acclaimed remake of Dead Space and Star Wars Squadrons, are building a team focused on Battlefield at their studio. We're tremendously excited for Motive, as they are bringing their expertise with Frostbite and compelling storytelling to the fold, joining DICE, Criterion, and Ripple Effect in building a Battlefield universe across connected multiplayer experiences and single player. BF 2042 has been an important chapter of the series we all know and love, and your feedback has been important in helping us build this game into something special while also assisting us in laying the foundation for the future. Battlefield is an experience that is defined by the passion of its community as much as its team-driven tactics and explosive battles, and I look forward to the day that we can tell you more about what's coming next. Thank you, Byron Bede, and that's the General Manager of Battlefield. There was also a small statement from Motive with a bit more detail here. They said Motive are joining the talented teams at Criterion, DICE, and Ripple Effect to continue unlocking the full potential of Battlefield. The directors who delivered our Dead Space remake in 2023 will build a team at Motive to work alongside the Battlefield studios around the world, creating what's next for Battlefield, a universe across both multiplayer and single-player experiences. Their proven expertise in storytelling, immersive battles, and developing on the Frostbite engine uniquely positions them to help advance the vision for Battlefield led by Vince Zampella and Byron Bede. Oh, alright, so there's a bit to unpack there. Obviously, the headline, BF 2042, is getting no more new seasons, but it will get challenges, events, modes, maintenance. Battlefield are shifting their attention to the next game, probably releasing October, November 2025, and putting all of their eggs in that basket. It's the right call for the franchise, in my opinion. Although it does feel similar to what happened with Battlefield 5. Full credit to the developers, they kept their word. DICE spent a lot of time improving the game. They get it to a certain point, starts feeling okay, and then dropped. It doesn't exactly send the best message, does it? And they've done this twice now. So if you're somebody who plays a lot of BF 2042, you don't have much to look forward to anymore outside of a new LMG stealth bomber and the stadium map. They did release this graphic though, and it's piqued my interest. The Crimson Front event, that's going to be the 16th of April. Stadium will be April 30th. Mid-May will be the new LMG and stealth bomber, and then May to June there'll be an event called Future Strike. This one really intrigues me though, because that looks like the EU team logo from BF 2142, which was an absolutely banger of a game, by the way. And it also had a DLC called Northern Strike. So maybe some tie-ins here. We're going to see mechs. I don't know. There was always a notion though that 2042 was a prequel to 2142, so maybe this is just connecting the dots. We'll see. Motive joining the development for the next game is a pretty big deal though, I think. From the wording in the statements that I just read out though, it seems like they'll be focusing on single player and engine work, and this could be a good thing. It means more hands on the project, EA investing and bringing more teams in, or it could be seen as a very bad thing and a red flag in terms of, hey, we really need some help here to get this game finished for that assumed fall 25 release date. Also, it does come across a bit peculiar seeing as EA announced at the end of February they were shutting down Ridgeline Games studio in Seattle, who we were told were leading the next game's narrative and single player. Sends a bit of a confusing message. As for what the next Battlefield game is, well, there are definitely some clues in the statements that we can take a look at and we haven't seen or heard before. When he said class-based squad play and immersive, intense battles, that pretty much confirms to me that the next game will have classes, unlike the specialists in BF 2042 at launch. And then team-driven tactics and explosive battles. Perhaps that means more of an emphasis on team play and destruction. Moving on from this, let's talk about the next Battlefield game, because this has to be a hit on release. BF 2042, the marketing, the trailers looked great. Everything they were saying about the game sounded great. But then the beta released and it was buggy. And then it launched and it was almost worse than the beta and missing many features. And it didn't really feel like a classic Battlefield game. It didn't feel like a love letter to the fans. What this means is that DICE don't have many, if any, chances left with Battlefield players. And I'd argue also with the greater gaming audience in general, the reputation is down bad. There is a giant mountain to climb here. They have to nail whatever comes next. The Battlefield 5 launch was bad. The Battlefield 2042 launch was worse. The new game has to be exciting, fun, and playable at launch with a clear idea of what to look forward to in the future. So, here's some of the things that I would do if I was the boss. Let me know in the comments below what you would do. So, first things first, the setting. Make it current day. 2025 warfare with modern armies, soldiers, tech, and weaponry that's relatable and understandable. Make it look and feel like what you're seeing on the screen now. Gritty and grounded. 64 players would be the maximum number of players for core multiplayer. And the multiplayer is class-based. That means guns, gadgets, equipment, traits limited to certain classes. Let people play a role and own it. Allow them some level of customization in how they look, but each class must have a defined silhouette or some kind of permanent equipment on them that is easy to identify, just so players know what they're fighting against. Detailed gun customization and stats. Let me go in and build interesting weapons with trade-offs. Have a handful of tight core game modes in the game at launch that are focused on map design and work well. Those would be Conquest, Breakthrough, Rush, and Team Deathmatch. And in the Conquest game mode, give players interesting gameplay reasons and value to stay on the key flags and defend them. Add advanced movement mechanics, similar to those in Battlefield 5, lying on your back and shooting, and leaning, for example. Frostbite engine destruction should be prominent on all maps and allow for emergent gameplay opportunities that still cannot be found in other contemporary FPS games. Go hard on the cinematic effects and moments in the game, and include these moments in the map design. A great example of this is dropping off the helipad on Damavan Peak. Have a server browser. Let people create their own permanent game servers and grow communities. If you have to charge for it, do that. People will pay for it if they want it. And in relation to that, 60Hz tick rate servers are a must at a minimum. Give people clan and platoon options. That was cool. Offer at least 10 maps at launch with a variety of gameplay options. BF 2042 had 7 at launch. This is not enough maps at launch. When you add maps in new seasons, if the game is a free live service, then there has to be more than one map for each season. DLC for Battlefield games used to be a big fun event with 3 or 4 new maps that were well themed and kept you playing for longer in those new playlists or servers. Each season needs to add more guns, vehicles, and gadgets than we had in BF 2042. Have official playlists that rotate through every map available. Proximity voice chat could be an interesting addition as an option for players. I'd bring first person takedowns back too, they're just way more immersive. Actually expand Portal and add to it. It was one of the best features of BF 2042 at launch and the possibilities are tantalizing. However, the current iteration is severely undercooked and was never expanded in any big way. So let people go in with a new version, edit geometry, open up the scripting and options set so people can create some unique and different experiences, ending up with something similar to Fortnite Creative or Halo Forge. Add a free-to-play Battlefield Battle Royale mode that is separate to the main multiplayer game and doesn't interfere with the mechanics of it. Keep it in the same universe, modern, same guns, progression, etc., and lean into the destruction. Have solo, duo, trio, and quads game modes. This would serve as a good introduction to the franchise for newcomers in terms of learning the gunplay, the movement, blowing stuff up, etc. And it would also provide a chance at growth for Battlefield with a new audience.
bring back squad call-ins from Battlefield 5. I loved this mechanic, and it gave you some powerful and cinematic tools that had to be earned as a squad through team play. In regard to this, incentivize squads to stick together by offering bonuses such as more base and weapon XP when in close proximity to each other. I would reveal the game with raw gameplay too, rather than a cinematic trailer. Prove it this time. And finally, run the beta of the game several months before the launch. Have it last for 4 to 6 weeks rather than a few days. Make it open and available to play on all platforms for free. This will allow more time, data, feedback, and players to identify key game-breaking issues that only using internal testing or AI simulation would not pick up. It will also allow devs to fix said issues and avoid a delay. And if you need to delay the game, don't just delay it a month, delay it 6, delay it a year. Got to be done when it's done. First impressions have never been more important with the next Battlefield game. I could keep going, but I feel like I'd bore your socks off. Also, I'm not a game dev, I'm just a fan, so I will stop there. As I mentioned, let me know what you would want from the next game down in the comments below. And that's all for today, folks. Thank you for watching. It's going to be a long wait, but I hope it's worth it. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.